Hello, this is Pursuing Joy, where we share audacious stories of joy-infused strength. I have someone on the show today that I like to call the Queen of Recovery. But Catherine, I'll let you introduce yourself and officially what your title is and what you do currently.
Okay. First of all, thank you for even wanting to hear my experience, and it's always in hopes that it's going to help somebody else that's listening. My name is Catherine Tootle, and I am a woman in long-term recovery. And what that means is this August will be 9 years that I have not had to drink or use any kind of substances to like cope with how I handle life today. Oh, it's also
9 years.
9 years.
Okay.
Yes, nine
Awesome.
years. It's wild how fast time has gone by here in Statesboro. I also have been in recovery on the family side of things for 5 years now.
Okay.
And so recovery is just kind of in and through me and my family. After I graduated treatment here, I was able to become a recovery coach here at Freedom Through Recovery, where I'm sitting now. And in 2021, God allowed me to become the executive director of this place, and as a RCO, that stands for a Recovery Community Organization, and there are many throughout our great state of Georgia, and we are all nonprofits. We are grassroots. We kind of form to what our community needs, and the unique part about RCOs is the lived experience. So when people come in here seeking a pathway to recovery, we're able to understand what they're talking about because we've walked that journey. So everyone that works here, all five of us, are in long-term recovery, and so that is a that is a beautiful place to be, having the front row to see other people get well, but not just to getting well, like to staying well part of
Yes.
it. So
Oh, yes.
I know, and I'm looking at the title of Pursuing Joy, and it's just a huge part of recovery, and I know we'll dig into that, but that's my name. We're located in Statesboro, Georgia. If anybody ever wants to stop by and come see
Yes.
us, we're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We have lots of events that we do. You can follow us on social media, Freedom Through Recovery, and
Right.
I guess
Yeah.
that's
So
my
there's
spiel.
lots of classes, or I won't call them
Group
classes.
support
Yeah,
group.
there we go. Yes,
Yes,
that are available there. So
yes.
I know you through Al-Anon,
Uh-huh.
and and for if you're not, I'm trying to think. I've been, yeah, we've not. I feel like we've probably known each other like 6 years. So I didn't know you pre-recovery, and I think we
Yes.
actually got together the first time discussing Alateen, and then
I
you and
think what? I think it's been 6 years, girl. I don't even
I
remember at this
know.
point.
And I think and you and I have the same Al-Anon sponsor. So
Yes.
the way that I describe Al-Anon is,
Mm.
uh, for me, is I'm addicted to addicts. So and, codependency is a huge theme. So you've, experienced AA and Al-Anon. So tell me what you think some of the differences are. Like, so you went through AA for
Mhm.
recovery for addiction, and then what
Mhm.
what made you go to Al-Anon, and what are the differences
Yeah.
in
So when I was in treatment, um, first of all, I love to give God the glory for all of this. First and foremost, He used defects in a way that changed me and my daughter's life. And had I not ever got a defects case, or had Marley not ever got a defects case, then um, I would have never got sat down in recovery. I got sat down in treatment, which then sat me down in a 12-step room of AA.
Mhm.
And man, I started hearing and listening to people from different walks of life that were going through some of the same things I was going through. And it was so powerful. One of the first speaker meetings I ever went to was a very sharp dressed man in a fancy car at the little pulpit up there speaking, and he opened up his story with him having a defect case, and and it God just knew exactly. He knows exactly what we need in the moment to be able to relate to somebody, And that was my moment right then, and I knew I was where I was supposed to be. We
Mhm.
clearly looked totally different worlds. That he struggled with the same thing I was because of addiction. So that's kind of like how I got started in AA. I worked through the 12 steps with a sponsor, and then she turned me loose, and then I've been working with sponsees ever since then. That's my one of my very first pathways in recovery, and I'll forever sponsor in AA. So later on down the road is when like two of my loved ones were struggling with addiction, and I was um, obsessively thinking about solutions for
Mhm.
them and wanting to provide a solution, and one being a loved one who is my sister. And I know she wouldn't mind me saying this because we talk out loud about it a lot, but she showed me what recovery was before I was ever looking for recovery. I remember her going to treatment and coming back not angry. And I knew that something had to be like working for her, although I wasn't trying to do any of that, but I knew it was something real because I had not seen my sister like that in a long time. So fast forward back to where I left off about, trying to find solutions for my family members. Um, Al-Anon started meeting in Freedom Through Recovery where I work now. But at that time, we met at another building. I think this is the
Oh,
first
yeah,
time
yeah,
I
yeah.
met you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, guys, I see what's happening here. Like you're bringing a meeting right here in my job that I can go to while I'm working. Like,
So that's when you discovered Al-Anon is when you started working for
yes,
Freedom for Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Oh,
I
interesting.
always heard about it, but
Right.
I never knew anybody that had chose Al-Anon as a pathway or anything. But and that goes back to coming from a rural area where there was nothing.
Mhm.
It was so easy to stay in addiction because at that time there were no solutions for recovery, except church, which I love today so much. But at that time, I had too much guilt and shame that I put on myself to even walk in a church and ask for help. So I just never saw anyone in recovery or AA or anything. But once I started eating at my job, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And when I sat down in that room, here I was surrounded by a whole gang of women and one male
I know.
that
Every now and then they show up. Every now and
wasn't
then.
so much, that was struggling with the same things, But not all were struggling. There were some like, who is my sponsor now, she just had a wonderful peace on her face and laughter and joy, and that made it very appealing. Um, and they let me like crying out for 3 meetings, because then I realized I needed a whole nother 12-step program to help me like let go of outcomes for people and not try to like fix their circumstances or make it easier or make it harder or whichever way that we're going. Um, it has given me a whole nother outlook on life. But I make it joke a lot of times that I had to have another 12-step program to help me um, just let go of control, you know,
Yes.
because it looks a whole lot different than when I was only doing AA. There was still a lot of like deep seated things that had not really been worked out, and when I got to Al-Anon, like these questions dig so deep
Yes.
inside of us and in our family patterns and what it was like and where we learned things from and what would it be like to try it this way? And it's like all these well thought out questions. I always thank God that I never even have to come up with anything. Like I can just read that question and see like how am I going to apply that to my life. Like I've never even thought about it that way.
Right.
You know. But a lot of the difference for me with AA and Al-Anon is AA gave me like sanity back. It gave me it bridged me back to God also through the prayers, through the making it very personal. And then when I got my sanity back, I was chilled out enough where I could actually sit in an Al-Anon meeting. And Al-Anon, it teaches me like how to keep my serenity in relationships, which is everybody. You know, I may have went in there for a loved one, but I didn't stay in there for that loved one. It has made me such a better mom and a daughter, a sister, a friend, a teammate. Um, like a servant at church, and it's uh, it's done a lot more than what I thought I intended. You know.
Do you think one step process was more difficult than the other?
Um, well, yes, there was a time when, oddly enough, I was going through the 4 step in Al-Anon,
The 4th
and
step. It's like,
I
kill
know,
it.
and it was also when COVID was started
Uh,
going on, and I was like,
oh my gosh, we must have been doing our Al-Anon work about the same
"Girl,
time.
I threw that book down because we was just like we was at home, I can't do that work sitting at the house with my family. I can't do it. I could do it, but I chose not to do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I mean that brings up stuff. So when we isolated at the house, I'm like, I
Yes.
mean, literally I threw that book down for about a year.
Okay, so it took me 3 years to get through the Al-Anon steps.
Yeah.
So
I
that
don't even know how long it took me, but I knew during that 4 step I threw my book down.
yes.
Because, like being in COVID and stuff, I was like, there ain't no way. Mm-mm.
So I'm gonna touch on something, and we'll see how
Yeah.
far we go down this road. And
Okay.
I haven't vetted this out. I don't have like answers to this,
Okay.
but so being that we have the same sponsor, maybe this was said to you because it was said to me
Okay.
that the us, you,
Mhm.
whatever, the Bible
Yeah.
girls I have a very hard time with this concept, with the overall I don't know, for me step 2 was I thought I believe in a higher power, came to believe this shouldn't even be a thing for me, but for whatever reason I had come into my head that everybody else deserved grace but me. Grace applied to everybody else
Mm.
but me. And so she was attributing some of this to just having fundamentals in, I would call it cultural Christianity, not the authentic Christianity,
Mhm.
that were making this recovery process difficult for me. And you just said that originally you were struggling, like maybe some of this could have been found in church, but your shame and your guilt was preventing you
Oh
from
yeah.
it. Do
Yeah. Yeah.
you yeah, so
First of all,
okay,
yeah. Yeah. There's so much in here. So first of all, like, um, I feel like the way I grew up in church, there were so many rules to follow that I can never, um, well, my experience showed me that I could not follow all the rules. And so I would just turn inward and be, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't know. I really down myself, and,
Mhm,
and, had the mentality of like, well, since I can't like, basically in my mind when I think about it today, since I can't like perform up to these standards, I'm not gonna try any. Like if I can't do them all, why even I can't? I
right.
didn't I never heard about like this is what grace looks like. This is, it was a lot of, well, what I call today is like religion instead of relationship,
Right, right,
or
right. Yes.
like even the hard talk on the pulpit of like just you know instead of leading with love, and I mean not saying that they wasn't all loving because they were loving, it's the way they were raised and that they were
Right.
raised and the just anyway. So that's funny you talk about the second step. So I think this is a very big difference that I've noticed with those of us that come in both fellowships,
Mhm.
like AA and AlAnon, and then just AlAnon. The ones that I've seen come in with just Al-Anon have that I'm going to give everybody else grace but me. So because I was also in AA, we learned how addiction is a very, very like self-centered disease. That is not a problem that I had because I was already thinking about me all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I was
okay,
like
okay,
opposite. I was on,
okay.
like Al-Anon, we talk a lot about extremes all the time. And I was extremely the other way. It's funny, I walk alone with a sponsee now and we're opposites like that too. And and I just find that very interesting. When we go through
Right.
addiction and then come into Al-Anon, I think we've already went extremely the other way. We know how to bring it back a little bit into balance.
Okay.
But the difficult part, so like you said, well, this shouldn't even be a question. I know like who my higher power is, and same, right? So I
Right.
mean, my daddy preached for a long time, and so it's like, of course, I believe in God. And at this time, I could even go, I could even go deeper. Like I know Jesus is the one who
Right.
died for me, and like I'm His child and stuff. But let me tell you though, so that's what I was saying. But in Al-Anon, with step 2 and step 3 questions, it really showed me that I, in fact, did not have God or Jesus or the Holy Spirit on the pedestal. I had my dad on the pedestal.
Okay, yep.
Daddy was really my higher power. Like, I was doing way more to please what I thought my daddy wanted to see more so than God. Because I had the mindset of like, Daddy and God's like this. I feel like if Daddy thinks it's good, then it's good. I already know the Lord thinks it's good because
Right.
Daddy wouldn't go against what the Lord. I had all that in my mind, and I remember our sponsor telling me, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to have a conversation with him," and I'm like, no, dude, no," and it just clicked so hard because of how much fear I had to even tell him I had him on a pedestal like that, like as a
Okay.
higher power. Um, I'm like, I could never tell him that. And she was like, yeah, you can, and so I remember calling my dad just boo hoo and crying. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yes.
Dad, I
That's
think you're actually my higher power and I've got you on this pedestal. And he was just like, oh no, little sister, you can't put me up there. Like, it made him very human. The
Oh,
conversation
right.
following that, he was like, "Oh God, please don't ever put me up there." Like he was like devastated to hear that I thought that, but I had never said that to him, and I mean, I didn't really even know it until Al-Anon. So, man, since that conversation, me and my dad has been able just to be two humans having a conversation.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
You
there's
know?
so much truth and honesty that is exposed through those 12 steps. So
Hey,
a lot to face, and it for me, Al-Anon gave me compassion for the addict of like, "Whoa, I can see why you don't want to go here. I can see why you do not want to start digging into these places
yeah.
that are so painful." Like it is a very brave and courageous thing to do on both fronts to
Hmm.
look at yourself in that way, and I think we have so many more we have so many distractions right now.
Yeah,
I mean, addiction could run the gamut right now from like the distractions and the things that we
no doubt.
choose to not face those things in
Yes.
us. I know it has revolutionized my life.
And
Um,
I've seen it revolutionize your life, girl.
oh my girl,
I
I've seen
can see
it.
it
I've
on
seen.
you and your girls, dude.
Oh
You
gosh,
live it out loud.
my oldest. She said, I can't remember the phrase, but I was like, Shiloh, that was a very Al-Anon statement that she said. And she said, why do you think I wouldn't say something like that? I'm raised in an Al-Anon home. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you weren't raised in an alcoholic home? Like, I didn't say that out loud to her, but in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm like, you was like, what a
Yes.
flip of the script. So,
Oh, my little
and
heart.
generationally overall,
That's right.
I am I couldn't be more thankful. And the only reason I found Al Anon is because I was at a uh, like a marriage retreat, and there were 5 couples. And of course, I'm in there looking at this other couple thinking, "Oh, you poor thing, you don't understand that your husband's an addict, and you're never like." I was just like, "Oh gosh," like
And the Lord
yes.
said.
Oh gosh. So she like a year later, we had like stayed in touch, and she called me, and I huge difference in her. And I was like, "Oh, so the marriage must have got better. Y'all must have got in counseling, things." And she's like, the marriage is worse.
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably headed towards divorce. And at the time I didn't know that I was denying that that's where my marriage was going as well.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Why are you like this? How are you like this? How are you having this type of conversation with me? How do you sound this way?" And she was like, "Al-Anon." I Googled Al-Anon that day and was in a meeting like the next week. Like her transformation was such a
Mm.
testament to what this could do for me.
Yeah.
And overall, it just brought so much clarity to life, just in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you for saying that. I mean, when I see you, I mean, your whole life is infiltrated by recovery. Like I can't think of probably an area in your life where recovery isn't part of it. You're so blessed to like have to have the professional or the job element of it too.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
so
true. It's
I,
true.
I love
It
that.
but it's very important to, find my own wellness outside of the job because because I can see so much of it here,
Right.
you know? And so it can be easy to fall into the trap of like, yeah, this is what my recovery looks like. But it's not sustainable, you know? And so,
Right, like, you're doing the work because you're at work, but that's not actually you're not actually doing your work, right? Like,
right,
you still have to set aside the time
right.
for you. I think people in
That's right.
ministry probably run into that as well.
Got to. Got
Uh,
to. You
so,
know?
yes. So, but, I mean, I know for me, I feel like you're, like, almost like a local celebrity. I mean, I
This
and
is
they
really good. That's that's a blessing to what it used to be like. You know, I
oh, right, known for
back in
something
the
different.
day, yes,
Right.
for something good today because
Yes.
back in the day, it I was not known for that. Like that I was known for man just giving myself away really and not speaking up for myself, choosing addiction over and over and not ever seeking out help. You know, it would be like, well, I wonder what man she's playing house with this time.
Yes.
That's where the Lord has brought me from with
Yes.
so many different pathways of recovery, and that's what I love about this title right here, pursuing joy. Right, so when I got into recovery, I thought I really had never heard about pathways to recovery until I got into this work. And when I came in and I got so much help and strength through AA, I was just like, AA is the way, like for everything. Like don't even come at me with nothing else. And I when I got accepted for this job and we go into our CARES training, and that stands for Certified Addiction Recovery Empowerment Specialist.
Okay.
We're taught there's so many multiple pathways to recovery. And I, it caused me to reflect and to look back, and where I thought it was just AA, really, I mean, if I was to go back and look, it is the DFCS case was like one of my very first pathways, and then the probation, I had to work the probation plan too, and then it was like long-term treatment, and then it was women's intensive outpatient. It was outpatient. It was counseling, and then it became my mental health meds, and then a trauma therapist, and then yes, AA is in there too, and then we start going to a church where I finally felt like I could walk into church again, and I want to go because I want to go, not because like somebody else wants me to go. And then I I kind of stalled out in there because I didn't know if I wanted to like lock arms with the church. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It took us, I think it was like 4 years before we ever really became like heart and soul, like connection. And so then we start serving, so then that's in a whole nother pathway. And then we got Al-Anon in the midst of that. And there's just so many different pathways. And then I started doing chiropractic care, neurofeedback.
Oh,
Like
right, right, right.
that has like been another thing that changed my life. So God's used a lot. And now I'm finally like to where I can lean on scripture and, to really keep me grounded like God's word. But
Yes.
it didn't start off that way. It took
Yeah,
me.
I think we get the right thing at the right time because it is
That's
you're
right.
peeling back the layers, and then you there's this another way to get to that next layer, and there's another thing that will get you to the next layer and the
That's
next layer.
right.
And this is pursuing joy because we're not arriving there.
That's
And
right.
ugh, at least every other Al-Anon meeting, I'm like, I really thought I had arrived. I really thought I got there. Like it is a goal of mine. I want to arrive on this side of heaven. And I'm like, okay, nope, nope, nope. It's the growth process. It's peeling back the layers. It is the pursuit. It is
That's
not
right.
the accomplishment. And I'm always like, oh, so close. Gonna I thought I was there. I wouldn't
Yes.
need to come back. And yeah, it was even new relationships that got me back into realizing I need Al-Anon because I was like, okay,
Yes.
this control thing is starting to rear its ugly head
That's right.
again. And so
That's
that's
right.
been so good. Um, all right. So tell me, based on all of that, can you give a little bit of a timeline? And I know you already had your daughter, but and that's where the case came from, right? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
there is a marriage that came along,
Yes.
and actually I don't know a lot about your husband. I realized as I was thinking about this. So
Yes.
just like a timeline of like when life fell apart
Yes.
and how it has now got you in this joyful place.
Yes. So, yes. Uh, when life fell apart, it was um, me alone, pregnant, uh, addicted to multiple different substances, using while pregnant, to the point of when I went into labor, I was at home. The ambulance helped me have Marley on the bed at home. Um, and I just tell you that just to tell you how good God
Oh,
is.
yes. I
Yes,
mean,
so
yeah,
like
I did
that's
not know that.
yeah, yeah.
Now
That's
I'm
what
even
it was
more
like
that
for
yes,
me.
the person's in front of me right now. I'm now even more like, "Whoa, okay, so let's keep going."
I know, girl. It's wild stuff. And so the defects case, and then I had probation because I got caught with some substances I
So this
swore.
started right when she was born, like the
Yes. So
okay.
there was like a 30-day period um, where I had a defects case that was like, man, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a temporary one to see how you're going to do for like 30 days or something. And um, And I couldn't keep it together. I tried to like isolate myself and my mom and dad, just so I wouldn't like be running around taking substances. And I was very depressed. It was, very depressed because I was basically, detoxing and withdrawing for that
Oh,
whole
right,
time
right, right.
to a point of like after, I don't know, maybe about 3 weeks. I don't even know. I can't even clearly tell you, but um, it was time for me to get something in my body. And so, and I did, and it didn't take long before I was called at a Family Dollar in this little rural town where there was just that and a Dollar General and a caution light, like there's not even stoplight there. And I had Marley with me, and I was carried to jail. And Marley, thank God, there's a family friend of ours there, and she took Marley to my parents. And so then it gets even deeper because, as I told you, well, my mom won't mind either, but, my mom was not in recovery at the time, and my sister's not in recovery. And so there's really like nobody that DFCS will allow to help me. And of course, my dad could, but not living with my mom because
Right.
it, I mean, so that's the depth of how addiction has ravaged the family. Like even my dad couldn't caretake because of other people's addictions. But anyway, so one of my cousins stepped in, praise God for her, and she was able to tell me like if you will go and do long term treatment, then I'll keep Marley, and and I knew she would be fine. Like my cousin has raised children, she's a great mama, and then um I like stuck like was sinking into self pity and just wallowing for a few weeks. And I'm like, I'm not gonna go there. I can never do that. I can my biggest fear was always like not having a substance to like wake up and do life with. I couldn't fathom of like how I would even run a house without having some kind of like pill to help me get going or something.
Right. I
Because
know that so the addict in my life would say that, he was better. He
yeah,
thought he was better, a better
hmm
person under
right.
the influence and could accomplish more under the
Yeah,
influence.
just being able to like feel normal, it really wasn't. After a certain amount of time, it's not about really even getting high. It's about just being able to wake up and feel normal. Like what we think the rest of the world feels like when they wake up.
Right, right. Okay,
Comparison,
okay, okay, okay,
comparison.
okay.
Just being on the same level, but. And so I was scared to death to go to treatment. I had no idea how I would do treatment and not have something to get through like the day with. And finally the judge was like, I got to do it, and he was like, you're gonna have to do about 2 years of treatment, and I was like, and I was so sick, I was like, man, y'all can have her. I, I'll never do that. Like I can never, I'll never be able to accomplish that. And thankfully, my mom at the time, my mom was doing better at this point, and uh, she was she came and picked me up one day and she was like, Catherine, I just want to tell you it's going to get worse for you if you don't go ahead and do something about it now. And this is the power of peer support,
Okay.
like what I do now for a living. This was like one person that's walked through it, talking to another person that's going through it. Uh, and when she said that, I mean, it just all flashed through my mind, like watching my mom being carried off in an ambulance, like watching her all the things that come along with being addicted. That's all that flowed through my mind, and I remember thinking like, "Oh gosh, she's so right." She was like, "All you have right now is a little bit of probation in the DFAS case. You can do this."
Right.
Like I know. She said, "I know you've been waiting on Marley your whole life, and I know you want to get her back." And I was like, "Yes, I do." And I remember doing this little motion, and I was like, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster because, girl, I ain't never dealt with nothing.
Right.
this was me at 32, and I was scared to death to go feel my feelings. I knew it was about to go down because I ain't never felt my feelings with nobody or talked about how I felt. Nothing. So, and she was like, yes, it is absolutely going to be like that. And I'm like, okay. And so I went and packed my bag and I went back to their house and basically was detoxing on their couch for about 2 days while her and my sister found a place for me to go. And I went to Quentin's place in Dublin and detoxed again. And then they found Heinlein's women's residential program called
Oh,
Women's Place here in Statesboro. And they said they would accept me and help me, like work through a defects case because that's what they're specifically for. There's programs throughout Georgia that are for mom and baby like that. And they was like, as long as she does not pass go, you bring her straight here, no stop. And so I remember you couldn't smoke at that facility too. And at this time, I was still smoking cigarettes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know
yeah.
what I'm doing right now." And my throat was hurting. I was just smoking so many cigarettes back to back, just trying to get them all in while I could. And I remember my sister telling me because she had been to long term before. She said, "Just remember, there's going to be like a lot of personalities coming at you, and that's normal. Like it's a house full of women. Y'all will throw down at times.
I can only imagine.
Uh,
I have a house full of women, and they're
I
not in recovery,
know.
and it's still crazy.
Girl, girl. And she was right too. And I walked in there with the biggest attitude, judging every woman I saw. Like, oh, she looks like she's mean. She looks like this. She looks like I was already judging them before they was even judging me probably. And so long term treatment was started and about it was only like a year long. No, no, no. It was only 6 months long. And I remember being very scared about that because I had been in addiction for 15 years. So in
Right.
my mind, I'm like, what's 6 months, Because once I finally like stopped sweating and ruining every shirt I had, I mean, like I was perspiring so much from just the long term withdrawal. Um, I found I could like wake up on time. I told you my worst fear was not having the substance to get up and do my daily
Right,
life.
right, right.
I found I could do like I could get up and brush my teeth on time, go to make my breakfast, do a devotion. Finally after about 3 months, I could do those things. And and then I remember praying um, for more time. Because I didn't know I was really scared. It took me some months to even let go of a toxic relationship that I had
Um,
while I was in treatment. And and I knew it was for the best because he wasn't choosing recovery, so I knew I had to. But it was just like the last thing I had left. And and finally the women in the program they helped me and like write a letter and stuff, and it took their strength to carry me through
right.
that because it was very hard and and so after that, I had already had a sponsor. I'd been introduced to AA. She was meeting me every weekend. And I look forward to that time. I was doing the step work and putting things down on paper, and then I started loving journaling and then the gratitude journal. And when I started, I remember I just had like a few bullet points, and then like on in treatment, it was page after page after page. It's really like gratitude rewires the brain. I mean,
Oh, yes.
all day long. Still today, I still practice a lot of that gratitude. But I would start getting my visits with Marley, um, and then it came time for me to get her back. But also during this time, DFACs wanted me to stay in treatment longer, and so God answered that prayer in in a way that I wasn't expected. They were able to work me into that program for like another round. So I actually stayed in there for like a year. And like I started working at Arby's and I was like the happiest drive-through lady you ever saw in your life.
I believe it.
I was so grateful just to have a job and be like legal again in this
Right.
world. Like making money and filing taxes and um, just being able to save money because I was in a program where I didn't have to spend money. Um, so then it became time for me to get custody of Marley back, and my cousin had gotten really attached to her, and she was scared to give her back to me, because I had never been in recovery, and she was, and I knew, I would be resentful at times, but I would also know, like God gave me the thought of like, she just loves Marley so much, she don't want to see her be drugged through the mud.
Mhm.
And God gave me that so I could work through that. And you know how God always gives us these steps when we're like going through it. Like I was on my
It's like
fourth
praying for
step.
patience. It's like that if you're
Yes,
there, that the opportunities show
are
up.
right there.
Yeah.
That's right. And so God helped me work through that with the steps. He kept my side of the street clean the whole time while I was getting custody of her back when it was hard for my cousin. And And so then I graduate treatment, and we go into transitional housing with Pineland, and that's our very first little apartment, and we do that for like 7 months, and like during this time is when I am I'm getting a little more free in treatment, and after I graduate through women's intensive outpatient, then I'm able to like really start dating and stuff. And I had, because that was also an addiction of mine, was men. And so
Yes.
for 2.5 years, God honored my prayer of like, I was asking God to replace a want for a man for a want for him. And he was so faithful, girl. He did that, and he did that. I never was, um, got distracted by chasing a man. And I was able to focus on me and Marley and get us back on our feet. And so then we finish treatment, me and Marley, and we get our first little place, and it's in Foxborough, just in like the old rough uh, apartment complex that everybody was scared for us to go into. And God is so faithful because He put me right in an apartment complex full of women with children. And so we all knew each other and would look out for each other if need be, and I was able to get like help because I didn't make much money at Arby's, and they helped pay for my utilities, and it was Section 8 housing. That's what it's called, Section 8.
Okay.
And so that is when I met Clint Tootle.
You met him there?
I met him in the 12 step room of AA. I met him at AA. And
Okay, so he's in
he's
recovery.
in recovery too. Yes, yes. He'll
Okay.
have 10 years this year.
Oh gosh. All right.
I
That is
know,
amazing.
I know. It's so beautiful. And how we got to start talking was we both had a service position in our home group, and we started taking meetings into John's place, into the short term
Okay.
program here. And I remember it was like after a meeting, we talked outside for a while. And dude, I was laughing so hard. I was just we were laughing about the craziness we just made it out of in addiction, and being able to laugh at that
Oh
together
yeah, I
today.
know that. Yeah.
Like he never asked me, he wasn't trying to get my phone number. He wasn't trying to come home and speak with me. He was just like, there for the moment, and gone. And then I'd see him at a meeting, and he knew about the whole journey with Marley because I would share about it in a meeting or during gratitude or something like that. And we were in a Dollar General, and I had Marley with me, and I just got her back. And we were walking around the corner, and then he like popped up right there, and I was like, "Oh, hey!" And he was like, "Is this Marley?" And I was like, "I have her back now."
And
And
how old was she at this time?
she was like 2.
Okay.
She
Okay.
may have been 2. I think she was 2 at the time. And I don't know. Then we just started talking, and I remember when I invited him over for the first time, me and Marley made him some spaghetti, made us some spaghetti. I'll never forget it. And we just started hanging out, and Marley loved playing with him, and he would play with Marley. Like he, he knew she was there, and he would give her attention, and it was, oh, went over my heart, and then we went playing. We were just like, we in this for the long haul. Like I ain't here to waste time, and he wasn't either, because we. It's funny, and I think that's probably what did it for us was we both had surrendered like having a significant other to God, because we
Mhm.
thought we both had the same thinking. It was so funny. Um, we had harmed enough people in our past in relationships that we were probably just doomed to be by ourselves.
Okay.
For those consequences. But the Lord had other plans, and we wasn't looking for it, and it just kind of happened, and um, we just like had our 5 year engagement anniversary. A little picture popped up in my memory, and by November we were married. I mean, I think like altogether it was a little over a year that we were dating and got married.
That and so where were you in life at that point? Were you still at the apartments? Were you
Yes,
still
I was.
working at
Yeah,
Furby?
I was still in the Section 8 housing, and he rented a place here in Statesboro, and then we were like, well, we don't need two places anymore, and so me and Marley moved in with him, um, and that comes with another set of things that I want to talk about. Um, as we started doing better in life, like with our jobs and stuff, I would soon get this job as a recovery coach, and it was a really big increase for me. And so through that and getting married and combining our incomes, me and Marley lost help in ways of like the food stamps and
Mm,
like her Medicaid and stuff like that. And it was really scary at the time because I'd never like done that before. Like before Marley, I was always with a man and he was taking care of me.
yep.
And so this was, we're married, and I had like food stamps and stuff for, I mean, probably 3 years or so. I don't even know, but I was losing all that, and it was scary, but it was a great place to practice faith and to know like this is what we're wanting to do in life. I don't feel like a lot of talk gets surrounded around that situation because a lot of people go through it and it is scary.
Yes.
Uh, there's a lot of women that come in and out of here, and they're like,
It makes you afraid of success because it may it create and I'm speaking on this in a kind of a different way because but like seeing it and then also like there is a pressure and a responsibility that comes with elevating
right,
yourself, right?
absolutely,
And then if you and it it takes a lot to like if you had found comfort in survival,
yes,
it is just it is a huge leap
yes,
in your mindset. So I yes,
yes.
I understand. And plus and you're putting all your eggs in that man basket in marriage too, right?
Yes, yeah. But this time it's like healthy,
Right.
and God kept reminding me of that. He was just like, this is like nothing you've ever experienced before. Like, don't be comparing it to the past because it's not comparable. Like, it
Right.
can't compare those things. Um, so we rented for like, let's see, I think that was a year or two. But a friend of ours that took our pictures, our wedding pictures, she lived the street in front of us, and she was going to sell her house, and she only wanted what she had in it. She was just trying to get rid of it, and she asked us about it before she put it on the market, and we were like, oh my god, that would be amazing. And so we talked to the bank and found out some things that we needed to work on, like with our credit and stuff like that. And we started doing those things, and I mean, it didn't take long, and we qualified for that house. And so we just celebrated on was that yesterday? Maybe that was what was yesterday. Everything happened in the summer, I feel like. 5 years in our house. And so we bought a house right in the middle of COVID. It took
Oh,
forever to
right.
close on it
That's
because
when I bought my house. That's so funny.
we're on the same journey, girl. It's so funny.
That
We
is so
keep talking
funny.
and realizing stuff.
So I
Um,
guess, yeah, it's 5 years for me too in here. Yeah. So, and
yeah,
yeah, my house is a God story, as well.
yes.
So that is amazing. How old is Marley now?
Marley is 9.
9. Okay. And
Yeah.
so she technically only knows this side of life, like as far as
Oh
memory
yeah.
and things
Yes.
like.
Now she knows. I don't hide nothing from
Right, right.
her.
But I mean, as far as like her memory bank is.
Yeah, her memory bank is this. Um, but she knows that what she calls it. She says I was drinking drugs
Oh, okay.
whenever I was in because she gave me some hard questions not long ago. She was like, "When you were drinking drugs, was I drinking drugs? Because I was
Oh,
in the
right,
tummy." And I was like, "Jesus, oh Lord, help me with this," And I was like, God makes us with that staff around us, and every time I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, you didn't like it, and I would be throwing up, because I would be. I
right.
would be throwing up every time I was trying to use, and my best solution at that time was like, just need to eat something and try to sleep or get some hydration in me or something. But anyway, she does. Yeah, all she knows today is that her daddy is Clint, and she knows who her biological dad is, and
Mhm.
they spend time together. I robbed him of time in the beginning because I like ran away from that relationship, and I was scared, and I was just, I don't even know,
Right, right,
and I definitely kept an open line of communication for them now, and her dad agreed to Marley having the Tootle last name, and so she got the Tootle last name because that's what she wanted.
right,
We all have open conversations, but we don't make conversations. I mean, we don't make decisions without her. You know,
right.
I don't want her to hold any of that against me or Clint or her dad. You know, I want her to be involved in everything. So yeah,
No,
yeah. And so
I
she, this is where we're at today. We're Clint
so
works at.
explain recovery coach to head of the whole thing.
Okay, yeah. So our previous director, he went and he's doing something else now today. And when the spot became available, the board kind of was like, "You're our obvious choice, like to do this." But they put me like on an interim kind of thing just to see how it was going to go, and I didn't know what I was doing, and so the beautiful part about an RCO is that there's so many different ones throughout the state, and I know other directors that would help mentor me and coach me in how to even be a director, because going from like a recovery coach with other recovery coaches to then being the director, and now they're a recovery coach, and
Right, you're
man,
managing people and systems.
yes, and it was just an awkward change there for a little while. But
But you
like,
had it.
it
I
worked
mean,
out.
you had it in you, obviously. You just had to
Yes,
get some of that stuff like
yes,
cut off, and you
and
know the experience so well.
yes,
So
and
I mean, and
Al-Anon is
it brings you joy. I know it does because typically I am the loudest person in the room unless I'm in a room with you. And then it's you. But I mean that in the best way because it's not like it's not an obnoxious thing. It is like your enthusiasm for
Oh yeah.
life and everything else. Like it
Right.
reverberates across the room. And so I know I am a witness that it is. I didn't know you before, but
Yeah.
I think had all that not come in your
Mm.
life, like you would have gone down a path of leadership had like that was in you the whole time. So,
Thank
you
you
just
so
made it
much, girl.
but now you're a leader with this incredible experience that you can share with others.
Dude, and
So,
Al-Anon has made it all possible to be a healthy leader. I not
it
not to just, like it's taught me how to delegate. It's taught me like everybody's got beautiful big strengths, like find out what they are and help them grow in that. Dude, it has revolutionized my thinking. I didn't even know where I was lacking until Al-Anon. And
yes.
when I went through my certification to be a recovery coach, it felt like a week long Al-Anon boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a lot of the same mentality of being self directed and finding strengths and building on it. Um, because that's what we do here in this work. And now that we're getting to this, so the joy part of things. So I have a friend, her name is Shonda Santana, and I tagged her on your post.
Oh,
I
right,
want her
okay,
to
yes.
do something with you
Yes,
so
I'll have to
bad
come on
because
there, yeah.
I've not ever thought about chasing joy and what does joy look like for me until she started going down her path of that a couple of years ago, a few years ago, and really leaning in and talking about it and exploring it. There's like four of us on this thread together that we stay with scriptures and speaking about joy, and we've done this whole brave space like workshop with the state now about joy being a part of the brave space. And so it's had all of my wheels turning and it connected me back to, the little girl inside of us. Because that's where she went back to and so I started reflecting and then that
Mhm.
brought me back down on. I don't know about you, but let me show you. I keep this little picture up here. That's Catherine, little Catherine,
Oh,
in the
yes.
snow. And my sponsor in Al-Anon, our sponsor is the one that challenged me with that some years ago, um, to go back before any of the trauma and stuff
Mhm.
and find her. And so now I'm doing it with that already in me and like her on my desk and now having a daughter myself, you
Yeah.
know, it brings us right back through all those ages again and it causes me to reflect and look back and to find what went well and not always what went wrong.
Yes, my strategy was to just raise my children the exact opposite,
Right.
and Al-Anon gave like, "Wait a second. No,
That's right.
that's not that."
Hmm.
Yep.
Mm.
And now, yes, now I look for those things that made me who I am, you who you are, like
Yes,
the good things, and also just going from one extreme to the other isn't the right protocol.
that's right.
Right?
That's
It's
right.
the balance.
It is.
Yes. And
And so,
Al-Anon just balance. Oh, balance overall
yes,
is the gift.
it encouraged me so much to learn how to slow down. And so the the other thing I want to mention is or experience is I've had a prayer partner for 3 years now. We pray Monday through Friday almost every morning unless it's summertime and our schedules are off the chain with
Right.
kiddos and grandkids. But um, she has God has also used her in my life along with that Al-Anon of slowing down. And Shonda is talking about finding the joy. And girl, I cannot find any of the joy if I'm running 90 to nothing
Right.
because we are in such a culture that it's like all of our worth is based on what we're producing, how busy we are, how many things we got on our calendar, and those three things have really challenged me to step out of that insanity
Right.
ring right there and step out on the outside. And it's so much easier when I'm out here now. I see people in that spinning cycle And I'm like, Jesus, thank you so much. Because, I mean, I can easily go back there, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But today it's like, I feel when it's happening, and I feel when I feel like I'm being rushed, and I already know I need to relook at my priorities. Like, I done got off kilter somewhere, but finding joy is a very intentional thing where I have to pull back, listen to like what my family wants to do, and do things with them, not just things I want to do.
Right.
And that brings me so much joy, girl. And I know you know because I see y'all doing it. It's
Now,
beautiful.
I have to caution people when they see my highlight reel on social media, and this is something that I've come to terms with probably in the last year. A lot of that, it is good, and again, it needs to be a balance, is me, running away, or me trying to create the year. So I do a word of the year. The
Right.
year that the word for me was joy was the year that I was told to slow down, stop traveling, stop dating, like stop filling time
Yes.
with things that are allowing me to run away. Like, I'm a big
Right.
believer not running to something and not running away from
Yes.
something. But so now
Mm.
it is much healthier experience now. But before
Yes.
it was almost an addiction and a
Yes.
distraction of like, I've got to produce this Disneyland lifestyle to prove that our
Yes.
lives weren't it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, or I was making up for things and all
Yes.
of that. But now it a lot of it is around what actually is bringing them joy as well.
Yes.
Like what, and it's amazing too because I mean, the four girls, right? Like they're
Yes.
so
Yes,
different.
you do, girl.
But literally, I can choose a night of the week and take one of them out for like 30 minutes each individually, and I get very different children when they're
Yes.
individual as well.
Yes.
But just honing in on, okay, I know this is what's gonna make you happy. I know this is what's gonna my oldest loves cemeteries. So we went,
Yes.
explored a cemetery, and then my youngest is an ice cream sugar
Yes.
fanatic. So I take her, like, I know she'll always be happy with that. So that bringing
Powerful.
joy into the sphere based on other people's joy,
That's right.
yes, that is hitting that nail on the head. But yes, I've had to I've had there's so many um you can be you don't have to be addicted to substances that are going, like, you can just whatever's distracting you, right, can
Mm-hmm.
be an addiction, like the things that you're grabbing at. Oh, yes, overall, yes. So, and
I
I'm
know.
having to realize that, and other people, realize that too. And I think overall, Al-Anon is a wonderful thing to have in the workplace. Like, even having a workplace that's all about
Yes.
recovery,
And
and
healing.
people having that healthy, and being able to listen to any feedback when you're straying off
Yes.
course or whatever,
Yes.
and so having that. I just had this idea.
Okay.
So I've started my own recruiting business this week, or not this week, this year, based off of an assessment called Working Genius, which is all about where you find joy and energy in work. I would love to come out and do one of my workshops with your team.
Or,
I
yes,
The
girl.
combination between the
Please.
recovery and the Working Genius, I think, would
Yes.
be phenomenal.
Let's
So
do it.
I would love to do that.
I
Um, okay,
definitely
so
need to do
I
that.
have 2 questions.
Okay.
One, where so you've been in the recovery rooms in recovery. You've been in the recovery rooms outside of recovery. And I know for me, when I really wanted recovery for an addict, like, I would go towards these, like, I would your story, or these stories where, okay, this someone goes down this line and they choose recovery and everybody lives happily ever after, whatever that is.
Uh-huh.
But
Yes.
where do you see a certain type of perseverance or grit, or what do you know what makes one person say, "I'm gonna do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing," and get here and maintain? Do you see something like a pattern or
Well, it's usually people that find hope, you know?
okay.
I mean, because if we don't have hope, how are we going to press forward, you know? But I will tell you, I mean, everybody's got different motivations. And I totally believe recovery is like deeply personal because, you know, there's people that'll be like, oh, they're not going to make it. They're here to get defects off their back or to get their paper signed or whatever.
Right,
And
okay, so, like, their motive
yeah,
could be
it could be all different. But I know in my own life, in my own story, um, I did not want recovery in the beginning. I wanted custody of my daughter back. That's all that kept me going in the beginning. And then it was like I did want to get probation off my back. I wanted to close my defect case. But then in that time somewhere, I was liking this body I was in. You know, my biggest fear was gone. I could get through the day without having a substance. And then I just became like, well, I can do anything, you know?
right.
I can do that. I can do anything. But my teammate also, Sydney, she has went through her whole recovery living with grief. And she's lost a lot of people very close to her. Um, and I've watched her choose recovery over and over again. And when I watch her, it gives not even just me, but when we as an organization watch her, it gives us a lot of hope because, you know, people are usually my step two in my brain. You know, watching somebody go through hard things and still choosing the program um, is what makes me want to keep doing it. You know,
Right.
and she lost her husband, her dad, and her stepson, and I've just watched her every day choose recovery, especially when she didn't feel like it, show up for her son, show up for her team. Um, After a few years, she finally started the support group for grief that she had been wanting to do, but it was too hard to look at. You know, like it's powerful, and like everybody's got their thing. You know that pushes them, but it's when we do it out loud and other people know that's the process we're going through. It just gives other people such hope.
Yeah. No, that's true.
You know, that was what I was questioning about whenever I was going to come work at the RCO when it was just a grant. You know, it was just like a if this gets awarded, would you be okay living your recovery out loud? Because it was a lot of there's a lot of anonymous rooms. So are you going to be okay living your recovery out loud if that's something that you want to do? And I'm like, dude, my addiction was very out loud. Like I would love to live my recovery out loud.
Yes.
And so I know, I mean, and that was like in 2018. And so the amount of hope that gets spread, I mean, just like we have a peer right now this is the longest she's ever made it. She's almost 6 months in recovery now. And I've known her the whole time I've been in Statesboro. And she started over and started over and started over. But she always starts over. And this time she has made it a 6 month and in the middle of her fourth step. And
Uh,
that is what makes me want to keep going.
oh,
You
yes.
know,
No.
it's
Yeah,
yeah.
the fourth
Everybody, I think hope has got to be like it though, because if I don't see other people getting better and going through hard things and choosing recovery, um, it just it shows that it's possible. You know, just some light for somebody
yes.
to throw in somebody's darkness right quick.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So then what is currently in your life, what is bringing you the most joy right now?
Hmm. Hmm. So I do believe what brings me the most joy right now is um, there's two things I'm thinking about. Two things. So watching my daughter have a healthy life and her know it. Like um, watching her have the freedom to choose to have options and to have a say so in those options. Um, she's at me and Clint just like let go in a whole new way on Monday when she went to a whole week camp.
Oh, I
Um,
knew that's what you're gonna say. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's
but I've got pictures of her that she's been there, and she was like reading her Bible in her free time. And I mean, oh, as a
yes.
mom, dude, as a mom, it's just like, oh my gosh, what she's doing. She's doing that unprompted. You know what I
Right,
mean?
because she's mirroring something that
And
she
that's
is.
exactly what my husband was saying too.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that's bringing me, okay, I don't know about one thing. I got two more things.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
Another thing that's bringing me joy is God has had me and my husband in this season over the summer to where Marley has been gone a lot. She's been spending the night with her friend, and now this camp, and it's been me and my husband, and it's never just been us before. Marley's always been here since we've been, and so the joy of like discovering who each other is without Marley there has been uh, has been wonderful. That has been like us just spending time laughing together, or girl, we'll do a late night trip to Walmart.
right.
It is hilarious. I feel like I'm going to get pulled over just because I'm out driving that late at night. You know what I mean? It's so we have such a fun time though, or like going to get a taco late at night from Taco Bell, or going to get an ice cream late at night. It's just us discovering who each other are and like watching
Outside of
fun.
responsibility, like, you're just doing
Yes,
things for
yes,
fun.
that's right, girl. And the other thing is with my prayer partner, we pray about people and their situations. And so it has really trained my brain to look for God in all of these tiny details, right? And so I see him. I see him in all those tiny details. If I'm looking for him, he's gonna make sure I see him. And so
Yes.
being able to see those things, build on it, when I, I made, I mean, I'm at like 9 or 10 pages of a Word document with like prayers and going back and dating when we had a breakthrough, or or something like that. Girl, it brings
Oh,
me so much joy of knowing like how the Lord has answered, and you know, it is not always what we're wanting, of course, but just seeing his faithfulness in hearing us has brought me great joy. And when I'm in a situation and a scripture pops up in my mind, and I can pull on that and know if I need to keep my mouth shut or not or something because of the scripture I've read, that brings me great joy too. Just it's just like coming up for me without having to seek it out. It's just there.
yes. No, I'm in a season similar of where a scripture that I've seen over and over now looks different, or more I can get more out of it, like he's revealing more. So I
Yes,
totally understand that. That is fantastic.
yes,
Um, all right. Oh, this was such a good conversation. I knew we'd go over an hour. There was no way.
I did
Uh,
that. I've had a good time.
So, what is the web? How do people get in or know what's going on at Freedom Through Recovery?
Okay, so our website is www.freedomthroughrecovery.org, and
Okay.
it's all spelled out, the longest email address ever. And then they can follow us on Facebook. So, and that is also it's like FTRRCO is the handle.
Okay.
We post everything on there. We're working on expanding into some other platforms, but it
Okay.
takes all we got to manage those two right now.
No, I know, and I mean, overall, Statesboro is a great recovery
It's huge.
community overall. So,
It's huge. Yeah.
I did not realize how much was available until I got here, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then even what's available just at Freedom Through Recovery for all walks of life,
Yes.
is incredible. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, then let me think if there's one other so right now, so there's Al-Anon and AA available there, and then other, like, grief
Yes.
and, like,
Uh-huh.
a devotion thing, and there's several of
Yeah.
those, but the one
Mhm.
thing, and it's been on my heart for a while, and it's on my heart again, so I'm declaring it publicly. I will make this
Okay.
happen. My house is for sale. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Um So I want to get this started. I want it to be the thing that I left behind, like leaving a place better than I found it kind of a thing. So
Mm.
Alateen, especially where my
Yes.
daughter is and where some of her friends are in life. And so Alateen is for the teenagers that are in families or have friends
Mhm.
that are alcoholics. And I think it is such a necessity and such a thing that I would love to have meeting at Freedom Through Recovery as well. So
Yes.
hopefully
Yes.
we can get that going. So thank
Yes.
you so
Yes.
much for
You're so
sharing everything
welcome.
today.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, and hopefully I'm there. I'm there probably right when you leave every time.
It is. It
I
is.
need
It's right
to
when.
start showing up earlier. But I do see actually I think I've seen Marley more than I've seen you now that I think about it. So, but
So silly
yes,
girl.
and yes, she is you, like, through and through. Love that. All
I
right,
love
thank you so
you.
much.
All right. I love you, girl.
Love you.
Bye.